Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. February 1st, 2020. So early in the pandemic, and one of the things Fauci was discussing was gain of function research. How much of it had been done at the Wuhan lab and how much the US was involved. Today I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive into the Fauci emails. They're basically a reservoir of information that goes very deep. There's a lot there. And the more you look into it, the more you see how it branches out into a web that involves many people in several different countries. If you like the video, thank you for hitting like and for leaving me a comment. Thank you also for your support on Patreon. If you're boycotting Patreon, you don't have to boycott me. I also have a donate button on my channel banner if you'd like to make a contribution. Thank you. This helps keep my channel going. Sorry about the noise. A lot of noise here today, but you know what? I got to get this info out, so sorry about all that. Also, before I start, please check out the link below for C60 EVO. This is fullerene, also known as carbon-60, which has been called a Nobel Prize winning molecule. It's a super antioxidant that actually helps your body produce more of four kinds of antioxidants naturally. This is a powerful anti-aging supplement. It leads to decreased inflammation, improved energy, and improved sleep. It's my personal favorite. I actually use this. So if you're interested, please click the link below for more information and a discount. Gain of function is when scientists modify a virus in the lab so it can do things that it couldn't do before, like infect people, for example. February 1st, 2020, Dr. Fauci was up early, urgently emailing Hugh Auchincloss, Principal Deputy Director of the NIAID. Hugh, it is essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on. I have a conference at 7:45 AM with Azar. It likely will be over at 8:45 AM. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward to you now. You will have tasks today that must be done. Later that day, he sent Hugh another message. The paper you sent me says the experiments were performed before the gain of function pause, but have since been reviewed and approved by NIH. Not sure what that means, since Emily is sure that no coronavirus work had gone through the P3 framework. She will try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. Imagine the person in charge of dealing with the coronavirus outbreak thinking he might possibly have ties to work done in a lab on gain of function experiments on coronaviruses. The ban he was referring to was this one, October 2014, moratorium on gain of function research. In the wake of a handful of biosafety lapses at federal research facilities, the US government is temporarily halting funding for new studies aiming to give novel functions to influenza, SARS, and MERS viruses. The White House Office of Science and Technology Policy and Department of Health and Human Services last week announced it was launching a detailed review into so-called gain-of-function research in which pathogens are manipulated to alter their capabilities. Such research made headlines in 2012 after two groups instilled the avian influenza virus H5N1 with the ability to transmit between ferrets through the air, a feat that prompted a year-long moratorium on H5N1 research. Now, in the face of threats like influenza, SARS, and MERS, which have killed scores in the Middle East and Asia, the government is instituting a pause to gain-of-function experiments involving these deadly viruses. So that is exactly what they were doing, making deadly viruses even deadlier. And Fauci seemed nervous. Do we have any distant ties to this work abroad? Us? Personally? Why is he worried about the work abroad, that is the gain of function research being done at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, unless he already suspects that the novel coronavirus might have emerged from the same lab and that he or the organization he works for might be partially responsible? So what was in the PDF that was attached to that email? It was this study, published in November 2015, which now promptly comes with a disclaimer that it is not proof of any kind of conspiracy theory. That is the first time I have ever seen that at the top of a scientific article. So what is the problem with this article? What makes people think that it's proof of something? They made a GMO virus. They describe engineering a chimera virus by splicing a bat coronavirus with a SARS virus that could infect mice. Using the SARS-CoV reverse genetic system, we generated and characterized a chimeric virus expressing the spike of bat protein SHC014 in a mouse-adapted SARS-CoV backbone. Nothing to see here, folks, like the header says. The results indicate that group B viruses encoding SHC014 spike in a wild-type backbone can efficiently use multiple orthologs of the SARS receptor human angiotensin converting enzyme 2, ACE2, replicate efficiently in primary human airways and achieve in vitro titers equivalent to epidemic strains of SARS-CoV. That is science gobbledygook for take part of a bat virus. If you mix it with a SARS virus, it can infect humans. Additionally, in vivo experiments demonstrate replication of the chimeric virus in mouse lung with notable pathogenesis. Translation: it makes mice sick. Evaluation of available SARS-based immune therapeutic and prophylactic modalities revealed poor efficacy. Both monoclonal antibody and vaccine approaches failed to neutralize and protect from infection with CoV using the novel spike protein. Translation: drugs and vaccines don't work against this mofo. At least not any vaccines they had in 2015. On the basis of these findings, we synthetically re-derived an infectious full-length SHC014 recombinant virus and demonstrate robust viral replication both in vitro and in vivo. Translation: we made a Frankenvirus. It did stuff in a dish and it made animals sick. Notice that one of the authors of the article is Shi Zhengli, the famous bat woman of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Nope, nothing here at all. Fauci just wanted to make sure, that there was nothing going on, because there isn't. Fauci also sent Dr. Auchincloss this article from Science magazine, which quotes Vincent Munster, an NIAID virologist, as saying, there is a very large gray area between viruses detected in bats and the virus now isolated in humans. I guess this little graphic is supposed to help us figure out where that gray area is. It didn't work for me, to be honest. The article also goes on to mention conspiracy theories concerning lab origins, even involving the BSL-4 microbiology lab located in Winnipeg, Canada. But relax, it's just a conspiracy theory, except it's one that just won't go away. This week, Radio Canada reported that 2 Chinese scientists who had been expelled from that lab in 2019 were now suspected of espionage. It seems that what one might call Chinese agents have infiltrated one of the most prized national security elements in the field of biosecurity and biodefense. The scientists' expulsion came 2 months after they shared information and samples of 2 types of paramyxoviruses, Ebola and Henipa, with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The Winnipeg lab had agreed to send the samples to the Chinese laboratory. Sharing samples with a country that has openly admitted to intending to use biological warfare for World War III. What could possibly go wrong? But relax, COVID-19 had nothing to do with the samples that they sent. So this has nothing to do with the pandemic. It might not have anything directly to do with the pandemic, but it still hasn't been investigated properly. In fact, nobody even knows where the fired scientists have disappeared to. Our media is calling on the Liberals to be honest about what happened, knowing the Winnipeg lab had ties specifically to the Wuhan Institute of Virology and that the US is already investigating. It would be more than a little embarrassing for Canada if the Biden administration finds the truth before Justin Trudeau discloses it. The Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc Québécois parties are calling on Trudeau to provide documents and the details of why the 2 scientists were fired. So far, Trudeau has been pretty quiet about it. He wouldn't be trying to hide something, would he? Meanwhile, in the US, 3 scientists were also caught potentially spying for China. Seems like this happens a lot. And to think, we thought scientists were just mild-mannered, harmless nerds Who cares what they're doing? It's not like they're trying to take over the world. When in reality, so much drama. Oh my God. The scientists in this document from the American government were said to have ties to the Confucius Institute. Remember that name because it's going to come up later. The next set of emails are between Fauci and the British zoologist Peter Daszak. In this email to Fauci, Peter Daszak says he wants to say a personal thank you on behalf of our staff. I just wanted to say a personal thank you on behalf of our staff and collaborators for publicly standing up and stating that the scientific evidence supports a natural origin of COVID-19 from bat to human spillover, not a lab release from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. In other words, I want to thank you personally, Tony, for keeping your mouth shut. So who is Peter Daszak? He is a British zoologist, consultant, and public expert on disease ecology, in particular zoonosis. That's when the disease comes from animals and goes to humans. He is a president of EcoHealth Alliance, a nonprofit, non-government organization that supports various programs on global health and pandemic prevention. Various programs, yes. Daszak is the guy who gave this interview in 2019 before the pandemic started on what the purpose was of the gain-of-function experiments. The interview is quoted in this article. Daszak was the one who explained that the reason they were making frankenviruses was just in case an animal coronavirus jumped to humans. And since it would be impossible to make a vaccine or have any effective treatment, the only solution was to engineer a virus in a lab and make a vaccine based on the spike protein. So, you're making frankenviruses just so you can make vaccines? And do you remember this email between Fauci and the virologist Christian Andersen, where he had told Fauci the virus could look natural on first glance, but looks engineered on closer inspection? In the email sent on February 1st, Andersen said the viral genome was, quote, inconsistent with expectations from evolutionary theory. In this article, they had pointed out that, strangely, Andersen later went on to deny that any type of lab-based scenario is plausible in a scientific paper he had authored on the subject in the prestigious journal Nature. They say such disingenuous denial is consistent with academics and universities that receive funding from the Confucius Institute outreach program bankrolled by the Chinese Communist Party. Remember these people who are caught in the US who were associated with the Confucius Institute? Apparently they're not the only ones. So we have Chinese scientists possibly engaging in espionage in Canada, a Winnipeg lab collaborating with the Wuhan Institute of Virology, Justin Trudeau being less than forthcoming with investigation and disclosure about what went on at the Winnipeg lab. We have Dr. Andersen acting like he's in with the Confucius Institute, denying things he already knows are likely true. We have Peter Daszak, who openly discusses the creation of frankenviruses, telling Fauci, thank you for keeping your mouth shut. What do you think is going on here? Well, I am going to do another video as a follow-up on this one to tell you all about Peter Daszak and his various programs, and those will take us down a new rabbit hole in the next video. I'm going to end it here because I have to run off and do some things, but I promise to tell you who is Peter Daszak and how does the information that relates to him really implicate Fauci and even the American government. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you found that interesting and useful. Sorry again about all the noise. Thanks for hitting like and for your support. And don't forget to check out the link. And thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.